Hello everyone. So let's start with chapter 1, our breathing, blow hot and cold. And in this chapter, we will discuss about the breathing process, how the exchange of gases occurs in the lungs, and why is it that the air we inhale is cold but the air we exhale is warm. So before we get into the lesson, here is some warm-up for you. Benny is always breathing with his mouth open. He also gets very sick often. The doctor tells Benny that he should try to not breathe with his mouth open and should always breathe through his nose. Do you know why we should not breathe through our mouth? We breathe to live. Through breathing, exchange of gases takes place. We take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide from our body. The organs we use during breathing are together known as the respiratory system. It includes the nose, the windpipe, and the lungs. Now, why is oxygen so important? Our body needs energy. When we digest food, we get the nutrients. But how do we get the energy? Oxygen is the key to it. Food is broken down into some nutrients. One of it is glucose. Glucose is the source of energy for the body. Each cell uses oxygen to release the energy from glucose. When you play and need instant energy, what do? You drink water mixed with glucose. This glucose digests directly and this glucose goes directly into your cells. This helps you to get the energy to play well. When we breathe, air travels through the nose and the trachea to reach the lungs. The air then fills up the lungs and they expand. The trachea is divided first into two main tubes. These reach the lungs and are called bronchi. This is further divided into smaller and smaller tubes known as bronchioles. The smallest branch of the lungs has a tiny air sac at the end of it. These are called alveoli. This structure is similar to a tree trunk and its branches. The trunk is trachea and the main branches are called bronchi, which are further divided into smaller and smaller branches called bronchioles. At the end of the branch are leaves, and in the lungs, they end with alveoli. Just like the air is exchanged in the leaves, the air is also exchanged in the alveoli. Alveoli have a very thin wall that allow oxygen to pass into the blood. At the same time, carbon dioxide is passed from the blood to the alveoli. So let's talk about breathing in and breathing out. When we inhale, the diaphragm moves and the lungs expand. This helps to fill in the air in the lungs. When we exhale, the diaphragm contracts and the lungs push the air out. This makes the lungs empty and fresh air can fill in the lungs when we breathe next. Now, did you know, if we cut the lungs open and spread them out on a ground, they would cover a tennis court. So let us think. What is the composition of the air that we exhale? When we breathe, we take in the air around us. The air contains nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, water vapor, and many other gases. But the composition of the air that we exhale is different. Our body does not need nitrogen, so we exhale all the nitrogen that we have taken in. Our body needs oxygen, but we don't use all the oxygen that we have taken in. The air that we inhale contains 21% oxygen, but the air that we exhale contains 16% oxygen. Carbon dioxide is a byproduct of respiration. That's why our body does not need it and our body sends out all the carbon dioxide when we exhale. We take in 0.4% of carbon dioxide, but the air we exhale contains 4% of carbon dioxide. Similarly, water vapor is also a byproduct of respiration, and since our body does not need water vapor, it is sent out from the body when we exhale. Now we know that the exchange of gases is essential for life. Breathing also helps in other ways. Air filter. The nose is not just an opening for air to enter our body. It also acts as a part to filter the air that enters the body. The tiny hairs and mucus in our nose stop microbes, dust particles, and tiny particles present in the air from entering our lungs. Mucus and hair also help to keep the air warm before it enters the lungs. We should always breathe through our nose and not through our mouth. The nose stops disease-causing germs and pollutants from entering our lungs. When we breathe through our mouth, unfiltered air directly enters the lungs. This air then reaches different parts of the body and we fall ill. Regulating air supply. Have you ever been out of breath? When we play or do hard physical work, we use more energy. So our body needs more and more energy. We need oxygen to produce energy. So our heart pumps faster to circulate more blood. At the same time, the lungs also breathe faster to get more air. That's why when we are out of breath, we must slow down and stop whatever we are doing for our body to recover. So here is a tidbit for you. We should exercise or play with our mouths closed. Talking. We cannot talk without air. In our throat, there are vocal cords. When we force air through these vocal cords, they vibrate and produce a sound like talking, singing, shouting, etc. Hence, the respiratory system helps us to speak and sing, making music. Some musical instruments need air to flow through them to make music. These instruments are called wind instruments. Take a whistle for example. When we blow air in a whistle, a high-pitched sound is produced, blowing hot and cold. What do you do when you want to drink hot milk or soup? We blow air over it to cool it. In winters, we blow air on our hands to warm them. How can we use the air that we blow from our mouth to cool or warm things up? Our internal body temperature is the same always, and the air that we blow out from our mouth also has the same temperature. The temperature of the hot soup is higher than the temperature of the air. So when compared to the hot soup, our breath is cool. Hence, the cool air cools down the hot soup. Similarly, in the cold, our hands become very cold, and the air we breathe actually feels warm to them. So, our hands become warm when we blow air on them. So let's explore. You have just read how air passing through the vocal cords helps us to make sound. Find out how other animals make sounds. Discuss your findings in class. So here is a science top-up for you. The amount of air that a lung can fill itself is called the lung capacity. It varies from person to person. The average lung capacity of a male is 6 liters of air. So here are some word meanings from the lesson for you. Bronchi, the main tubes or passageways to the lungs. Alveoli, tiny air sacs present in the lungs where exchange of gases takes place. Pitch, the sounds that we produce and are related to vibration. Vocal cords, folds of tissue that project inward from the sides of the throat and whose edges vibrate in the airstream to produce sound. So here is a mind map of the lesson for you. The respiratory system consists of the nose, trachea, lungs, and diaphragm. The lungs has 3 parts: the bronchi, the bronchioles, and the alveoli.